Are avoidants ever aware that they are avoidantly attached? This is a question that I get asked very frequently, and it's not an easy answer because the answer is yes and no. Most avoidants, at least to some degree, are aware that they have a tendency to shut down and push partners away. But most are unaware of why they do this. Yes, there are some avoidants that are aware that they're a dismissive avoidant or a fearful avoidant, but they are not the majority. The majority don't know why they engage in these behaviors, and they blame external circumstances as to why they had to act that way. This partner was too clingy, work was just too busy, or this just can't be the right person because they wouldn't feel these fears and the need to run away if it was the right person. This is because avoidants avoid self-reflection. Self-reflection is the polar opposite of avoiding. When you self-reflect, you have to actually look within, process emotions rather than suppress them. You actually have to face your fears rather than run from them. You also have to reflect on how your behavior impacts others and take accountability, seeing where you've gone right and where you've gone wrong. That's all painful stuff. And going back to childhood, avoidants have learned to avoid these things. This is because they grew up in households where their emotional needs were not met and their feelings were often suppressed, if not outright rejected. So this is a person that learns you don't talk about emotions, you bury them, you run from problems. They were never taught how to handle emotional and relationship stress in a healthy way. So when they get in a relationship and their fears are triggered, especially when emotional intimacy is building in a relationship, their entire nervous system is on fire with anxiety because they've learned to associate this with abandonment because they were emotionally abandoned as children. So they shut down and push the partner away. But they don't know why they do it. They just feel compelled to do it and they don't self-reflect, so they don't know where this fear comes from. They avoid doing the deep digging to figure it out. So they'll tell themselves excuses like, well, it must be the wrong person. The right person won't make me feel this way. But every time they get into a relationship, especially with a healthy, loving partner, and emotional intimacy is growing, they push this person away. And then they'll ask themselves questions like, why can't I find the right person? Not being aware that they have pushed away wonderful partners. Now, it's worth noting that these fears are not triggered when they get into a relationship with somebody who is toxic and emotionally unavailable. It is specifically healthy relationship behaviors that trigger avoidant fears, because healthy relationship behaviors are what generates emotional intimacy. Toxic relationship behaviors do not foster emotional intimacy. They actually foster distance, which makes the avoidant feel safe. So they feel much more safe emotionally in a toxic, unhealthy relationship. So most avoidants to some degree are aware of their tendency to shut down and push a partner away. But they still go out and engage in relationships knowing this tendency, believing that if they just find the right person this time, they won't have to feel this way and act this way, taking zero accountability for their role in past failed relationships, always blaming it on something else or the person that they discarded. It's a complete lack of self-awareness. And this, unfortunately, is the case with most avoidants. Now, there are some that are fully aware that they're avoidant, and some of them are actively working on themselves through therapy and other means, but a lot of them are aware that they are avoidant and still choose to engage in relationships anyway, knowing that they have a tendency to hurt people. And these are the most selfish of all because they need that external validation. They need that attention so badly that they're willing to jeopardize someone else's heart for them to get it. And that is extremely selfish and self-absorbed. Now, you cannot force this person to become secure. You cannot force them to heal themselves. You can try to, in a kind, non-critical way, inform them about attachment and try to guide them in the right direction, but you can lead a horse to the water, but you can't make it drink. You cannot fix anybody. They have to want to work on themselves.